up? What is up? What's jablin', my jables? What's jablin'? Ah, that's an old one. You remember that one? Is he still vlogging? Is Jack Black still vlogging? You remember when he started vlogging? He was doing like old pinball museum with his kids. Started a vlog channel during the pandemic. He would say, "What's jablin', my jables?" Yeah, that's good. That's good. What if I called you Quados? Huh? Okay, who out there gets that reference? Someone's going to get it. I'm going to be so happy. What are you, Quados? Every podcast has a name for the audience. Quados is not Rick and Morty. Sorry about that. I mean, it might be. I don't know. Rick and Morty goes a long ways. That's not what I'm referring to. I'm drinking today. It's not from Total Recall. It is from Total Recall. It's from the Seth Meyers Lonely Island podcast, though. It's from the Meyers Lonely Island podcast. What?
Quades. That's
but
the
they
term
call
they
them,
use.
don't they? Quades on Seth Meyers? I thought it was Quados. Quades?
The Quades. Yeah.
Quades. What's a Quado?
Quado is from the same thing, but in the sketch on SNL they say, "What's up, Quade?" or "What's up, my Quade?" or something like that. So
I fucked it up by getting it right, is what you're saying?
Yes, correct.
Oh man, I'm so innately right that even when I tried to get it wrong, I couldn't get it wrong. That's how I'm taking that. I'm drinking today, guys. I'm drinking today because the world is a vampire sent to drain my wallet. Tariffs, bad. Things are more expensive. How'd you like a Speedy B F722? Well, that's a great budget stack. Only $188 for a Speedy B F722 stack. $188. Oh, wow. What was it? What should it be? Oh, that's more like it. Oh, give it time. Give it time. $116. This stack used to be $120-ish, depending on where you buy it. I think you can get it for like $90 straight from Speedy B, but in a U.S. store, $120. $188. And as ridiculous as that sounds, that is, I mean, I haven't done the actual math, but that is not disproportionate to the 145% tariff that's been placed on China. And I know, there's some exemptions. Are FPV parts subject to these exemptions or not? I don't know. But the long and short of it is, pricing is getting shook up. And it's about to be roughly about twice as hard, twice as expensive to build an FPV drone in the United States. So, man. So if you didn't know, now you know. And don't worry, it'll all blow over. It'll all get better. Prices will go back down again, just like they did after the pandemic, right? No, they didn't. Because they never do. And then I saw this today, and I thought it was worth a little bit of discussion on the live stream, because I can't let Mads Tech have all the fun.
So, this week, something has happened which has caused a lot of money to get wiped off people's pensions.
We don't have pensions here in America, for the record. I mean, some people do, but not like they do over in the UK.
And the pricing of goods to go up. And I'm going to...
And you could go watch that video. Not right now. Don't click away from my live stream. But Ian has never been afraid to, like, have a hot take and to, like, cut right to the heart of the matter. Sometimes I think he cuts a little too... with a little bit... he should have a little bit more, maybe, reserve. A little bit more... I don't know what the word I'm looking for is. Like, sometimes I think he goes off half-cocked, I guess I would say. But I respect a lot the impulse to speak out and, say your mind. The argument that he makes is, among other things, is that this product, right? Not Pyrodrone. They haven't raised their prices. This product right here. This product was already in the warehouse at Race Day Quads, presumably. So if I got that product and I didn't pay a tariff on that product, that it's a ripoff for me to then raise the prices in anticipation of the tariff going into effect. And that has sparked a lot of discussion. Blunty, in fact, the live stream started late because you and I were having I won't say heated, but having definitely a vigorous discussion about that topic. And so I figured I'd give you a chance to sort of speak. You sort of had the opinion of most of the people, and I have a little bit of a contrary opinion. And I will say this before I cut you loose. If Mads Tech sometimes goes off half-cocked, I sometimes have a tendency to be argumentative and contrary just for the sake of doing it. So that's, I'll own that. Anyway, do you want to express your support for the opinion of the people?
Yeah, the main, I think what we got to after we discussed it for a little while, because I haven't really thought about it that much until we had the discussion, right? I think where we got to is that, look, it's fine to raise your prices if you want to raise them beforehand, if you didn't pay that for your stuff. But you should expect some kind of backlash from people that know that you didn't pay that because you had the product beforehand. That's sort of where I land on this. You can't expect me to be okay paying your bills ahead of time for tariffs that we've seen change every week at this point, less than every week sometimes. Like, and you're speculating about what you're going to pay. Deals are made, deals are changed, product gets shipped, product ends up on different days, all these kind of things, right? I know that you have product that you're bringing in the country and then you're selling it, unless you're lying to me about how the orders work, because I didn't hit pre-order. I hit order.
Right. So you said in stock. That means you have it on the shelf. That means you already paid whatever tariff you might have paid.
Yes. So to me, it's not my responsibility as a customer to front your whatever money you need to pay for the next tariffs. That's on you as a business to figure out. This is a once in a lifetime possibly situation that we're seeing, but again, it's not on me as a consumer to know that, right? It's on me as a consumer to know I'm paying a fair percentage versus what you paid for it, including the tariffs that you paid to get in the country. I'm just I think as a consumer, that's all I can really think, because it's not my responsibility to know your business mechanics of what you paid for. And I'm just assuming on good faith that what you're charging is what you should be charging. But that's the whole problem here, is we know that's not the case because these just changed and this product was already in stock and it says in stock, right? That's the assumption. To me, that's the problem.
And I think your argument, and now we're having like a nice reasonable discussion after we were yelling at each other, not literally, but we were a little more argumentative. Now we're sort of being reasonable. That's okay. Sometimes I do wish that the argumentative part went out over the air because it would get more clicks, but that's probably a bad impulse. I think your argument is that as a customer, you feel entitled to make a judgment call about the margin that the retailer is getting. That if you feel like the retailer is charging an unfair margin, that you would resent that and you would shop somewhere else. Do you agree or disagree with that?
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I have some onus as a customer to understand, like, the idea of when tariffs started and how much you likely paid and that sort of thing. And when suddenly the prices change overnight based on a number that was posted but hasn't been enforced yet or is just starting to be enforced, then I make an assumption as a consumer to go, that doesn't seem fair to me because I'm paying more than you pay. So
what if, like, tariff is just one form of business expense? Like, what if, the tax rate, the marginal tax rate or whatever, real estate taxes. What if my local government charged some new tax and it was a significant number, and I said, I have to raise the prices of all my products by 5% to cover this, right? You'd be okay with that?
100%. Number one, I'll say you'd probably make a message posting about it because 5% across your whole thing versus every other store would be a big deal, right?
It's hypothetical.
But two is yes, I think specifically in your situation it's different because like right now we're responding to something, in this case, like we can see the number went up and we can see your number went up because of that. All the numbers went up because of that, right? I don't think it's because like, hey, the number went up, that's bad. I think it's the number went up and you didn't pay this and we have a clear situation. In a month, that won't be the case because we won't know where you got your product. We won't know when it came in. You won't know how much tariff you paid, right? But now I can tell you didn't, and that's what's upsetting, I think, to consumers. I could be wrong, but that's to me the problem.
The contrarian in me, like, I get that. You don't want to feel like you're being gouged. If you know that I got a product for $10 and I'm charging you $20 for it, you go, well, that's a ripoff. And it almost doesn't matter. Like, if everybody else on the street is selling the product for $30 and somehow I got it for $10 and I'm selling it to you for $20, a lot of people are going to be more annoyed at my 100% markup than they are at the fact that they're getting a $10 discount, even though that's not necessarily rational. Everybody wants to feel like, nobody's getting an unfair profit. There's a part of me that says that I identify some with the business owners. I know that, my job as a reviewer is to identify with the customers. And I guess when I'm doing a product review, I try to, lean into that. But also I see the other side, and I have seen so many examples in the last couple months. And I'm not mean to speak for any of these stores. They'll speak for themselves if they want to. So I don't want people to read into this more than, they should. But I've seen so many examples where businesses operating in the FPV space have been absolutely screwed over trying to shield their customers from the effects of not just the existence of the tariffs, but the unpredictability of the current sort of market where you just never know. Like one day there's a 30% tariff, and then like the next day it's a 80% tariff, and the next day it's 140% tariff, and the next day there's an exception, but only if your product starts with the letter Y and is color purple on it. And then the next day, and you're like, as a business, you're trying to set prices so that at the end of the month you can pay your bills, you can pay your salary, payroll, everything, order more product. And you're like, you just don't know. I don't know if I told this example on stream. I've definitely talked about it. I know an example of a company that resells FPV gear, and they got an order. It was a contracted order, and so they were told, hey, buy me this product, and then I'll pay you for the product. So they quote the contract, they get the contract, they order the product. 3 weeks later, the product hits the customs, and suddenly there's a tariff. And now, if they pay the tariff, now the contract is no longer profitable because they told the customer this is how much you're going to pay and this is what you're going to get. And now that's a legal contract that they have. And so they can either lose money on the contract and make the customer happy, or they can not fulfill the contract. Potentially, there's some clause in the contract that says if you don't deliver the product, then, you bad boy, you owe us whatever. The product goes back to the manufacturer. Now you have to argue with the manufacturer about whether you should get your money back or not. And it's just a gigantic mess that no one could have anticipated. And that's just one example of how companies I see are trying to shield customers from the effects of the unpredictability of the current market. And on some level, it looks to me like the companies just looked at that 145% number and went, fuck it. We're not doing this anymore. We're just going to cover our asses now. And I like, from a customer's perspective, it sucks. But I also think the companies have been taking it for months and kind of just silently protecting the customers from these changes, and are finally just done doing it. I don't know. So, thoughts about that?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Sorry, I've been moderating chat, so I'm like...
I bet you are. I bet you are. Thank you for that.
People really want you to we say this every time. I'm not sure how many people really still think this, but Dronson FPV says, "Can you guys please explain to everyone when you order from China, the price is the same until it hits customs, then you have to pay the tariff." Yeah, in case somehow you don't know at this point,
correct.
The tariffs are not paid anywhere else. Like when you order a product, it's the same price as normal. But when it gets imported into the U.S., you will get a bill or letter from customs.
Correct.
And that will be the extra tariff that you pay based on the date of import, not the date of purchase.
Correct. Which means, and let me reiterate this before I then turn it back over to you to answer the question, it means that as a business owner, you cannot predict how much your product is going to be. You pay the manufacturer $500, and they ship the product, and then it gets on a boat, and it's on a boat for 2 weeks. 3 weeks, whatever. It finally gets to America, it gets to customs, and customs says, oh, yesterday they suddenly decided that there was a 500% tariff on your product. You owe me $2,500. And you can either pay that money to the U.S. government or you cannot, and they will send that product right back. And you don't get it. And as a business owner, it's hard to overstate how destabilizing and difficult it is if you can't, to some reasonable degree, predict your costs into the future. Go ahead, Blunty. What do you think of my argument? I know you disagree with a lot of it. I'm offering you the opportunity to take the devil's advocate if you want to.
Hold on, real quick. So Chad is very confused.
Okay.
De minimis is being removed. So a lot of people are talking about $800 minimum. Like if you order something $800 or less, then you do not pay a tariff on it. That was the case. However, de minimis has been removed. And as far as I can tell, so I've heard two different things, okay? One is I've heard that there is a maximum that you'll pay. So you'll either pay a maximum of, I believe now it is $100 or the tariff, which is
so whatever,
120 in the last. It was
Yeah.
120 in the last document they released for the de minimis, but I think it'll go up to 145 like it is now. Anyway, you pay the less of those two. So it'd be 125% on your item or $100. And then in a month, it's like June 5th or something, it goes up to $200 or the tariff amount. However, I was told by someone else who I think sort of like has a good understanding of this, that it's up to the shipping company. It's up to your shipper. Like, so UPS has to choose and handle the way it works because it's done as an ad valorem tax. Mm-hmm. So that means that it is possible that you will pay the $100 instead of a cheaper tariff of 145%, depending on who the importer is and the shipper is, because it has to be handled like at the time of import, I believe.
I'm pretty sure that UPS specifically also charges additional fees for the service of collecting the tariff. And I've heard of stories of people... and I've heard stories of people who, like, it's a $30 tariff, but UPS charges them $200 because this used to be a pretty exceptional thing. And UPS was like, man, if you want us to do this, fine, but we're going to charge you $200 for it. And now people are getting just absolutely dinged. But be that as it may.
A lot to this.
Yeah. So okay. So... nobody wants to get ripped off. Nobody wants to get gouged, okay? And surely, probably, like, there's some margin built into these prices where the retailer goes, well, as long as we're raising prices, let's give ourselves a little bit of fluff. Like, I could be sympathetic to that argument, but I think the other side of it that people don't see is just how hard these stores are. Oh, the poor stores. Pour one out for the stores. Okay. Just how hard these stores are working to try to stay alive and provide you with product, which is how they'll stay alive. It's like, it's in their self-interest. And they know that the minute they raise their prices, everyone's going to shit a brick. And they have held off doing this as long as possible because they didn't want to make everyone shit a brick. And it's just finally come to the point where especially for me, when I see the tariffs go 30, 80, 120, 145, de minimis, I'm like, how am I going to run my business like this? Fine, everything gets a 100% markup. Now I'm covered. Everybody can just F off until I feel like I can pay the rent every month and I'm not going to constantly get the rug pulled out from under me. And it's going to piss customers off, but I think the alternative is that a lot of these stores just cease to exist. So... anyway, Yeah.
Oh, one more
All right.
thing I see people in chat asking about. If you order through another country, let's say you order a Chinese product through Vietnam or something, you are still supposed to pay the tariff from China. How it works is when it's imported into the U.S., there's a country of origin that's dictated. And unless there's some kind of fundamental change to the product, like unless they're producing a new thing out of the product, and it's not just repackaging, they specifically say
Right,
repackaging does
right.
not count.
Right.
It is the country of origin that matters, and you will pay the 145% tariff or whatever China's tariff is on that product, regardless of who ships it to you as an intermediate. Just so you know.
Yeah. Anyway, who knows how this will all shake out in the future? We certainly don't. It's a giant effing mess right now. And I think it's a sign of the times that some stores have gone, I can't do this anymore, and they've raised their prices. And, like, I don't know. From my perspective, like, if I'm going to raise my prices now or I'm going to raise them 2 weeks from now, like, I don't know. Anyway. All right. Well, let's wrap up on that discussion and move on to the questions. I did think it was worth having, though. And thank you to Madstech for, well, I'm sure many people are talking about this, but thank you to Madstech for sparking this for me. All right. Oh, by the way, one more thing. So, I want to be really clear. This message was in the Knoxville FPV chat Facebook group. I'm going to show you this message, but I want you to be aware that I'm not, like, saying I'm sharing this information as inside information. I'm not vouching for this. But I saw this in the Facebook, in the Knoxville FPV chat, and I thought it was interesting. This is from the FPV Marketplace chat. Somebody named Benjamin said, I spoke to 2 reps, one from Race Day Quads, one from Get FPV. By the way, that's the same company. Those are the same company. Their own Get FPV bought Race Day Quads a year ago. So that's the same company. It's not 2 companies. They both informed me that they have completely stopped accepting any shipments from China until further notice. Just want you all to know. So basically, Get FPV and Race Day Quads, which are the same company, have just said, screw it. We're just going to wait. Now, obviously, how long can they do that before they have no product to sell? I don't know. Is this even true? I don't know. But that's potentially how bad it's gotten. So, anyway, with that out of the way, let's talk about FPV. I wonder what super chats have come in. Thank you to Black Jungle for 10 reais, and thanks for troubleshooting with him today. Thank you from Elias Derkula for €2. Does an MMCX SMA pigtail decrease the analog signal? Yes, absolutely. Anytime there's a connector, like an MMCX connector, a UFL connector, an SMA connector, or even a more higher end connector like an N connector or a BNC connector, all of them have loss. The really little connectors like the UFLs and the MMCXs have more loss. You might see a half a dB or maybe even as much of as a dB of loss. An SMA connector, a good SMA connector is going to be under half a dB of loss, but that adds up. It adds up. So, and then the pigtail, obviously, and the longer the pigtail, the more loss you're going to get. So, absolutely. Color123, thank you for $2. Color's asking for the best 9-inch props. I don't know. It's been so long since I flew a 9-inch quad, I can't make a recommendation. I would go look and see if HQ or GemFan has one. And if so, I would buy them because they are generally reputable. But I don't have anything for you there, so thank you. Thank you for the donation. I don't have an answer. Does the chat have an answer? I don't even trust the chat. They're just going to make up some bullshit. Dimitri asks, during the last stream, you raised a question about power filtering capacitors, mentioning there isn't any downside to having too much capacitance. There's another opinion on the PropSoft channel suggesting that large capacitors wear out the XT60 by creating a bigger spark. That's plausible. Yes, that's 1,000% plausible. The bigger the capacitor, the bigger the spark when you plug in the battery. You can fix that by having a spark arrestor, but many people don't. So that's a fair point. That's a fair point. The last time you said the 9-inch prop from HQ sucks. I said that? You can't be talking to me. I don't said that. I don't think I said that. I don't know why I would say that. I don't have an opinion about that. Barrett Thompson is trying to make backup SD cards for his radios, and the radios won't read the cards. The number one guess that I have is that the card is too big. The software library that is used to read the card sometimes can only handle a card up to a certain size. This is less of an issue on modern radios. They tend to be okay, but my guess is that you're using like a 256 gig card or 1 terabyte card or something like that. I would do a card of 32 gig or less, and probably it should be okay. And here's the thing. The EdgeTX/OpenTX radios do not need a big SD card. Even a 2 gig or a 4 gig card will be plenty. They don't have that much data on them. So you don't need a big card. Stay under 32 gig, you're probably going to be okay. Goshhawk asks, why do I have to unplug my quad to get ELRS to connect the first time? Turn on the goggles, turn on the boxer, plug in, wait, unplug, replug, and bam, it connects. Okay, so my first guess was going to be that you plugged the quad in first, and then you plugged in the goggles and everything else, and the radio last. And then the Express LRS receiver was sitting there for a minute, went into Wi-Fi mode, and then by power cycling it, you fixed that. Now, you're telling me that's not it. You're telling me you plugged the quad in last. Then I don't know. No freaking idea. Literally no idea.
One thing people don't often know about Express LRS, which has been fixed in newer versions, or should be, but sometimes is actually a little weird, is that it cycles through, the receiver doesn't know ahead of time what packet rate the transmitter is going to be. So it has to ask, it has to look on each packet rate to know if the transmitter is there. So it will cycle through 500 and then 250 and then 150 and then 50. It'll go through each of the optional packet rates. So and could be a case of something like that. That's typically the reason you have to wait for Express LRS to bind. I'd be curious to know if you plug in and just kept waiting, if it would work, or if the receiver goes into Wi-Fi mode after 60 seconds.
Fair. That's a good point. And then I would want to look at what the LED on the receiver was doing. Like, that's your sign of what the receiver is thinking. So, Ragav FPV wants me to recommend a capacitor for a 10-inch drone. 2,000 microfarads. 50 volts, 35 volts maybe, depending on the battery voltage. Tybo, another Discord member. You mentioned Throttle Expo last stream. You said you don't like to use it. I've been using it. It's improved my flying greatly. Putting a throttle limit on my stick makes it so I can't use all my power, but the Expo lets me have all the power and control. What are the cons that you're thinking of? So you're right about the difference between Throttle Expo and throttle scaling. The throttle scaling cuts off the top of the throttle, whereas Expo lets you access all of it. I used Expo for a while, back when I was a beginner, and I was struggling with throttle control. And at first I found that it helped me. It helped me in one thing, but it made me bad at other things. So let's say I've got Throttle Expo, and I set that Throttle Expo so I can hover, and I have a lot of resolution at the hover point. Now I pitch forward. Do you see that depending on my pitch angle, my hover point on the throttle is going to be different? If I'm hovering flat, my hover point might be at 30%. But if I pitch forward to 45 degrees and I'm flying forward, my hover point might be 35 or 38 or 40%, right? And So setting the midpoint of the expo, there isn't a perfect midpoint for the expo where you have all the resolution you need right around the hover point, because sometimes you're going fast and sometimes you're going slow. Okay, that was one thing I noticed. The other thing I noticed was, so you're flying. Now you've got your throttle expo set perfectly, right? You're hovering, you're holding altitude. And now you dive into a turn. And when you dive into a turn, a lot of the times what you'll do is you'll back off the throttle, you'll pre-turn, and then you'll punch the throttle and try and get yourself moving, okay? If you watch yourself or you watch people when they're turning, a lot of times there is a sudden increase in the throttle, maybe some stabs on the throttle, trying to find the exact point to sort of float yourself through the turn. And what I found was that Throttle Expo made that significantly harder to be precise, because the Throttle Expo giving me resolution in the sort of hover part of the throttle curve, it cost me resolution in the I'm trying to go through a turn smoothly part of the throttle curve. I guess my argument would be that ultimately you use all of the throttle. Okay? And you may not, maybe you don't use above 80% very much, and you don't use below 30% very much, but you use a lot of the throttle. And the way the Throttle Expo works in Betaflight is it's very difficult to have all the resolution you need where you need it. That was my experience. Whereas, here's the other thing. Here's the other thing, and this is going to be a little bit mean, so take it with a grain of salt. Take it with a little tongue in cheek. You know why you can't maintain altitude? Because you suck as a pilot. You're a terrible pilot. Stop being a baby. Get rid of the Throttle Expo and just learn to fly your gosh dang drone. You know what? I don't have Throttle Expo. I don't have any problem holding altitude because I can fly a drone. So that's another way to look at it. Okay. Like on some level, it's just you will be able to maintain your altitude. Today you can't. If you keep practicing, you will be able to do that. But if you set up Throttle Expo, you will never learn to actually do it right. You will constantly be struggling, I got to get my expo curve exactly right. Or you could just have a linear throttle and learn to do it. Okay, please take that with a sense of humor. And like, I'm just trying to make an inflammatory live stream clip with like a grain of truth in it. And I said it the jackass way instead of the kind way.
Chad is asking, what about flying cinematic, where you're not expecting to do dives, you're not expecting to, like, yeah. Is it okay there?
So my argument about sort of helping aids, right, is this. If a helping aid makes you more effective at your job and has no downsides, there's no shame in using it, right? Like, people talk about, should I fly in angle mode versus acro mode? And a lot of times I'll say, just learn to fly in acro mode. It's not because I'm an elitist who looks down on people who fly angle mode. Losers. It's because angle mode makes it harder for you to do the things with the drone that you want to do. It makes it harder to get the shots you need, harder to get the camera moves you need. If you could do everything you needed to do in angle mode, then I'd say, screw it, do it in angle mode. I don't care. Just get the job done. I like to make the analogy, it comes from shooting sports, right? There are people who say, oh, you should do everything with iron sights because that's what real men use. And then there's people who are like, you know what? If I pull the trigger and the bullet goes in the target, what do you care how I did it? I'll use a red dot scope. I'll use something like that. That's like, well, I mean, what are we trying to accomplish here? Are we testing your ability to use a specific skill, like flying angle mode or acro mode? Or are we testing your ability to accomplish something with the drone, like go from point A to point B? And if it's the latter, then I don't care if you use angle mode. Now, I would argue that a lot of the time, Throttle Expo has downsides, maybe even downsides that you don't recognize because you're so enraptured with the fact that it solved the problem you were aware of, you kind of don't notice the other problems it is creating yet. Right? Maybe. But if you stipulate that we're in a situation where Throttle Expo has no downsides, by all means use it. I'm not an elitist gatekeeper. I'm not a purist who says you can only do it one way and any other way is invalid. I just hate to a lot of times you see a beginner. Like, again, I took my son to the shooting range a few months ago. First time he ever shot a pistol. 20 minutes. I looked at my watch and said, how long have we been here? 20 minutes into the session, he turned to me and he said, I think the sights on this gun are not set up right. I said, what do you mean? He said, well, I'm lining up the sights just how you told me to do, and I'm pulling the trigger, and the bullets are going down and to the right. They're not going on the bullseye. And I said, you're pulling the shot. You're pulling the shot. And he said, well, I don't think so. I think the sights are messed up. So many times, people start and they're trying to learn a skill, and they are bad at the skill because they just started learning it, and then they try and fix their equipment and they try and solve it with an aid of some sort, when the answer is that if you just keep at it, you will just learn the skill and you'll be able to do it without the aid. So one of the downsides of aids like that is that they hamper your own progression, your innate progression. But if the aid helps you accomplish what you need to accomplish and doesn't have any substantial downsides, then by all means, go for it. I cracked up. It's such a trope that somebody is missing their shots and says, I think the scope's out. Scope needs to be zeroed. It was literally the first time he'd ever shot a gun. And literally 20 minutes into the session, he was like, I think the sights on this are out. And I was like, you are a trope right now. You are a meme. You don't even know it. Anyway. Let me keep going. Can I connect the DJI Remote Controller 2 with the Goggles 3 to fly the Avata 2? No. The RC2 does not connect to the Goggles 3. The RC2 connects to the Goggles 2 and the Integra. The RC3 connects to the Goggles 3 and the N3. I'm pretty sure that's universal. I don't know for a fact whether it applies to the Avata 2, but that definitely applies to the O4, and I'm pretty sure it applies to the Avata 2 as well. Here's a $5 super chat from Dano, who says, do you think prices will go up resale-wise for goggles and VTXs? I mean, eventually they will. Absolutely. It remains to be seen how long that will happen. But if the new market prices go up, then the used market will go up. Absolutely. Like, if I'm trying to sell anything, if I'm trying to sell a used car, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at, the very first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at what other used cars are selling for. Fine. But I'm going to look at what a new car would cost, right? Because if I could get a new car for $40,000, I'm not going to pay $40,000 for your used car. I'm going to get a new one, right? That's the benchmark. The benchmark for buying products is always, what could I pay to get it brand new? And then I'm going to mark that down some amount to pay to used. So if the new price goes up, I think it's inevitable that the used price will go up. If you have used gear right now, I don't think you should sell it. I mean, this is a little bit off the cuff here. But number one, don't sell it because, like, who knows? In 2 months, maybe everything costs 3 times as much and you're just glad you have that gear that you thought you didn't need. But number two, I think there's a fair chance that in 2 months, the used market is going to double in price, just like the new market did. But maybe not. Maybe, like, again, but then in 2 months, if the market hasn't gone up, just sell it then. What did you lose? Not that much. Gadget RC says, I have a race quad with a BLW32 ESC. The firmware on the BLW32 ESC has the bug where sometimes after you crash, the ESC stops working until you power cycle it. Yep, that is a known bug in BLHeli 32.9 or something. And the fix is to flash it to BLHeli 32.10. Oops, except the BLHeli 32 project shut down, and it is no longer possible to flash a BLHeli 32 ESC. So that ESC is screwed. The only thing you could do is flash AM32 to that ESC, or buy a new ESC. I'm sorry to tell you. That's it. There isn't any way to fix that. Except to flash AM32, which I know you don't want to do. What size 6S battery do you like to run on your 5-inch quads? 1100. I know people like big 1350, 1400. Big. I prefer lighter batteries. I prefer lighter builds. Why are some of Betaflight's capabilities only accessible through the CLI? The way it works is that capabilities that are thoroughly tested and commonly used are in the GUI. Capabilities that are new and untested and or not that commonly used are in the CLI, because it takes work to put stuff in the GUI and to keep it all up to date. And the Betaflight devs don't want the GUI to be more complicated than it really needs to be. So if it, already people look at the GUI and go, it's so complicated, I don't know what to do. Can you imagine if there were 3 times as many options? People would be even more complicated, people confused. Zarkad, thank you for being a patron. Thank you for coming to the Discord server, Zarkad. If living and flying only in the USA, is there any benefit to putting the ham file on the Avata 2? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, are you trying to say that you already have the ham unlock because you bought the system in the USA? I wouldn't assume that. I always do the ham unlock just to be sure. Yeah, absolutely. Here's the thing. What's the downside? There's no downside. Do the ham unlock. Maybe it'll help. It won't hurt. Definitely do it. Always do it. Do it even if you're in Europe. No one cares. Oh, that's illegal. Guess what? It's illegal in Europe. You can't get me. Ha! I can tell you to break European rules because the European FAA won't come after me because I'm an American. Yep, that's what I've decided. I would never go on a live stream and publicly advocate for breaking American rules, because that would be irresponsible, and the FAA would be like, we don't like this guy. So every American watching this should follow all the FAA rules all the time, like a good boy or girl. But Europeans, listen, you just do the ham unlock. No one cares. No one cares. No one's ever gotten in trouble for doing it. Everyone's doing it. All your friends are doing it. You're kind of lame if you don't do it. Loser. People email me and they're like, well, I'm in Europe. I can only use 25 milliwatts. And I'm just like, loser. Probably German. Probably following all the rules. Okay, wait, is that far enough, Blunty? Blunty has nothing to say. Why doesn't my $300 T-motor see? He knows when I've had, that when I finish the glass of whiskey, there's no stopping me. Why doesn't my $300 T-motor ESC have a heatsink, and will its performance suffer? Does a 4700 microfarad cap risk high inrush current? Is parallel caps better than a single cap? Why doesn't the ESC have a heatsink? I don't know. T-Motor felt that it didn't need one. Probably they're right. Probably their judgment about this $300 ESC is accurate. If not, they're going to have a lot of unhappy customers. That's an expensive F and ESC. So presumably you don't need one. They designed it correctly. I don't know though. Will its performance suffer? Probably not. The ESC not having a heatsink, basically it causes it to, burn itself out sooner. But I'm not sure that its performance really is affected by heat buildup. I don't know about that. Maybe it is. Is a 4700 microfarad cap risking high inrush current? Yes, absolutely. That's a way higher capacitor than anybody uses. Like on my Beast class, a 13-inch quadcopter with individual 120 amp ESCs, each ESC had a 1,000 microfarad 50 volt capacitor. That's 4,000 microfarads total. Okay, but that's what the ESCs needed. I believe we talked about this in the last live stream, and we looked, and it comes with a 1,000 microfarad capacitor. At that point, going to 4,700 microfarad is a significant increase. It will cause more inrush current. You could get like a spark arrestor, and then you'd be fine, though. I don't think it would really matter. We got a few more super chats coming in. Zing 2208, 1800 kV 5-inch. What are the best props for freestyle? Jay's Way, there is no answer to that question. Every pilot has a little bit different style, and different props suit different styles. Also, you didn't tell me what your all-up weight is. Also, you didn't tell me what your altitude is. And I'm kind of being facetious a little bit, but I'm also kind of trying to make a point. If you freestyle at 10,000 feet above sea level, you know, like in Denver, Colorado, whatever altitude it is, you're gonna prefer higher pitch props versus if you fly in Orlando close to sea level, because the air is a different density. You're gonna want, you know, if you fly high pitch props in Orlando, you might overheat your motors, your PIDs might be off. You fly those exact same props in Denver, and you're gonna maybe be just fine. The all-up weight of the quadcopter matters as to which props you choose. A heavier quadcopter will do better with like a 5.1-inch prop. A lighter quadcopter might do better with a smaller prop that doesn't need the thrust, and it'll benefit from the responsiveness. Flight style comes into it. Pilots that do very snappy, abrupt movements, they want a lot of quick response. They tend to like 4.9-inch props and a small wheelbase frame. Pilots that do a more smooth, flowy might prefer a 5.1-inch prop, or even a 5.25-inch, or maybe even a 5.5-inch prop. Or heck, why stop there? Go 6 inches, although not many people go to 6 inches. So what I recommend you do is you buy a bunch of different props. Props are like $4 a bag, something. $3 to $4 a bag, typically. You buy 10 different props, and you try them all out. And you see which one seems like you like it the best. Have you heard anything about the Edge T3 HD digital video transmission system? Maybe. Yeah, I have. I actually have this. It's at the UPS store right now. They sent me one. It's at the UPS store right now. I haven't gone to pick it up yet. I will be messing with it. Here's what I would say, though. Advertised latency of 60 milliseconds tells me that this is not like an FPV video system for racing, freestyle, etc. Advertised latency of 60 milliseconds means that in reality it's going to be higher than that. That's like the lowest number they can possibly advertise, and it's not like be lying to their customers. So I'm going to guess that your actual latency in flight is more like 80, 90, maybe 100, 120 milliseconds. I don't know. But it's not going to be 60, except at the very beginning of your flight when you're like right next to yourself, and then it's going to change. Is it constant latency? I don't know. Probably not, right? Our AI-driven anti-tearing algorithm actively compensates for signal degradation, reconstructing lost frames in real time. I don't know how I feel about that. Like, is it going to, like, lie to me and show me stuff that isn't there? I don't know. I have one. Now this, hang on a second. This is walk snail right here. That pattern of distortion, 1000% is a walk snail system. I mean, I don't know for a fact. That walk snail does that. That's interesting. Are we pointing a finger here? I don't know what that is. That's analog. Is it? Yeah, that's analog for sure. Yada, yada, yada. So, sapphire brilliance, emerald glass. Okay. I don't know how I feel about AI upscaling. Like, it's showing me data that doesn't actually exist. So my picture looks better, but I'm being, put me back in the matrix, right? I know this steak isn't real, but I just want to eat it. I don't know. So I'm looking forward to trying it out. I think it's going to be more for like the long range pilots than for like the typical FPV hobbyist. And the 60 millisecond latency is the dead giveaway. Oh, here's 52 milliseconds.
Some of chat is claiming it's OpenIPC. I don't know if Madstech apparently suggested that or something. I don't know.
Well, I don't know how you would know that. If it's OpenIPC, it's the best. I mean, it looks like a walk snail video transmitter to me.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's OpenIPC, you could know that because people would just like try to get in the code and whatever. That's just a DJI goggle. What the fuck is this? That's a DJI Goggles 3 or something. Look at that. That's just somebody just took the smear filter, the smear tool to a Goggles 3.
Curtis A says it's not OpenIPC. It's the same Wi-Fi chip OpenIPC uses.
Uh-huh. 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 Look at this sweater. It's not the exact same sweater. Where's that sweater? Give me that sweater back. It's a very similar sweater. Did they smear out the sweater too? Is this DJI's picture? It sure looks like those are like 100% just Goggles 3. No, not Goggles 3. Maybe they're Goggles 2, because Goggles 3 have this headpiece. I don't know. This is weird. Goggles 2 have the vents. I don't know. I don't know how much time I want to spend on this. Anyway.
Yeah, it's the smooth vents. Like to me, it looks like smooth vents.
Yeah.
Like it looks like
it looks
they're the
like
same shape as the vent.
I guess I should just go to the UPS store and get the package, and then I'll know.
Are they sending goggles? I only saw an advertisement about the unit.
Oh, interesting. No cables needed. Oh my god. They don't have goggles? How does it... It streams Wi-Fi? Oh, well then it's definitely not for FPV. You just stream over Wi-Fi. The latency's going to be terrible. You can't fly off of that. What is this even for? I'm so much less interested now than I was. Oh. Yeah, that looks a lot like... Anyway, whatever. Shoot, I broke it. I broke the live stream plenty. Okay, I fixed it now. Thank you for $10, Deadman FPV, who asks, can you temporarily use two Happy Model 5.8G linear antennas that would normally be used on the 04 Lite for use on the 04 Pro? Would it damage the 04 Pro? No, not at all. They're tuned to the same frequencies. You're good to go. Do you know much about this iFlight Borg FC, says Sunshine. Thank you for $5. The iFlight Borg FC is very interesting, but there's a catch. The Borg FC $40 frickin' bucks. $40 for a flight controller with Express LRS built in. That's hot. It's got a built-in little antenna, and then you can put an external antenna on as well if you want to. That's hot. That's amazing. I like that. Here's the catch. Now, it's a 20 millimeter, so it may not have all the pads that you want. It's a little annoying. So I've been contacted by several people. Blunty, I think you have as well, by at least one person. The problem is that they shipped this flight controller with Betaflight 4.6 on it, which is a pre-release version of Betaflight. And it's not even beta software, it's alpha. It may have bugs, and I think it's irresponsible to ship hardware with pre-release versions of Betaflight on it. It's especially weird that iFlight did this, because iFlight has kept all of their bind and flies on 4.4 for years now, saying that they didn't feel that 4.5, I don't know, we want to test it. We don't want to upgrade our bind and flies to 4.5 because it's so new, or I don't know what their argument is. But they kept their shit one revision out of date. And now they're just releasing a flight controller with 4.6 on it. I don't really understand why. And the problem is that the 4.6 target is not available. So, like, they ship it, and it has 4.6 on it, and it has Crossfire built in, but you want to use S-Bus. So you have to go to the configurator and reflash it to have S-Bus support. Oops. You can't. It's not in there. And what this person... Yeah, Blunty, go ahead.
Sorry, just to be clear, there is a target in there that's called Borg, but from the testing that the user I was working with did, it does not work. And he had to get their firmware from iFlight.
And so he said, iFlight, can you give me firmware with S-Bus support? And they went, okay, and they built it for him, and they mailed it to him. That's like, well, that's dumb. What if I want a firmware with servo support? What if I want to, I don't know. So they're shipping this hardware with unreleased firmware, and if you want to update the firmware, the only way to do it is to go back to them and ask them nicely, which is bullshit. And then they said, after Blunty, you complained to them, and I complained to this one user who had to go to them and ask for support. Apparently, Blunty, they said they were going to start shipping it with 4.5, or 4.5 was going to be in the configurator correctly. What happened? What was the outcome?
Hold on, I gotta find that.
Yeah, this iFlight Borg F435S, I believe that is not correct. It doesn't work if you actually flash it. At least that was the case. We got any updates? He said,
according to after communication and confirmation, our first batch of Borg FC was shipped with firmware 4.6, but according to customer feedback, since developers not officially updated the firmware on Betaflight and the specific upload time cannot be confirmed for the time being, we will change the subsequent batches to ship with Betaflight 4.5.2 and set the VTX on-off code. So apparently they said in the future they will ship it on 4.5.2 on a supported target, not 4.6. It's supposed to work with the Blitz target, but that target did not seem to work also for my user who tried to do it. So.
And they're saying something about the VTX off, so it has a VTX pit switch and the VTX won't power up?
Yeah,
if the firmware is wrong?
It's not included in the target, so that you have to add that code.
Here's a post on Pyrodrone's Facebook group from Seth Calhoun. Do not buy, I'm reading the post, I'm not saying these words out of my own mouth. Do not buy the iFlight Borg stack. It comes with a different firmware that is listed in the description. It literally doesn't exist in Betaflight. It came with Betaflight 4.6. It says you can flash the Blitz firmware for Betaflight 4.5, but once I did that, nothing works right. The whole stack has this blue film over it. It's not conformal. It's just garbage. Yada, yada, yada. The stuff he's saying about the firmware, I can confirm. That was, I tried to help a user who was having this problem, and I can confirm that is correct. So until you can be sure that you're going to get an iFlight Borg stack with a working firmware, Sunshine points out that Race Day Quads has the target listed as iFlight Blitz ATF 435. But Blunty, your experience was that did not work?
Correct. Same as the user in the post who you just read. He said he tried the Blitz firmware.
So they're just passing on information they've been given, but doesn't seem to be correct, at least as far as we're concerned. There's no point in buying a flight controller with a firmware on it that you can't flash. Whether, well, I was going to say whether it's downloading firmware or whatever, but downloading firmware doesn't work anymore since the cloud configurator came in and you have to build certain things into the firmware. You need to be able to flash it from the configurator. So...
It's interesting. I don't know if there's some special thing. Obviously, this works on 4.5.2 because they're going to ship it on that in the future. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure why they would have chosen to do this. In the past, we've only seen this for things like SPI ExpressLRS, where we needed to flash ahead of version to get on the right version for users to match up and stuff. But yeah, this is an odd decision.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very weird. Anyway... Is it not possible to flash Betaflight offline now? It is, but you have to download the firmware. And you choose the build options and then download the hex file. And then you can flash it offline. But the thing is, if the manufacturer makes a hex file for you, that hex file has Crossfire in it, but it doesn't have S-Bus. So if you want to use an S-Bus receiver, you're out of luck. Okay, we'll make you a hex file that has S-Bus in it, but not Crossfire. Okay, well, I want to use servos. Oh, servos aren't in it. And you can solve all those problems if you could just flash from the configurator. But if you have to go back to the manufacturer and get them to build you a custom target every time, that's bullshit.
Also, can we say huge fail on the name? I just got to point that out.
Yes, I was confused by that as well. The name is the 5S.
Yes, but this supports 4 to 8S. Do not be confused.
Mm-hmm. That's better. Invest in a 2S Tiny Whoop or a 5-inch is my first drone. 5-inch. Learn how to fly in the simulator and then fly a 5-inch. It's way more fun. The reason to go with a 2S Tiny Whoop would be if you needed the small size and quietness, because you're going to fly, maybe you're going to fly in your apartment complex atrium, and a 5-inch is just too dangerous. But if you just have all the space in the world, a 5-inch is going to be way more fun, in my opinion. A 2S Tiny Whoop would also be a little more durable, probably. So. Thank you for $10 from Lamont Price. Lamont Price asks, why is my HD function in Betaflight grayed out? I can't pick the screen. I'm on the right UART and everything else. Lamont, I would ask, it's grayed out. What would make it be grayed out? I could think it would disappear. I don't know about that. What could make it be grayed out? I would make sure that in the firmware flasher, make sure that you flash with OSD digital selected. OSD digital right here. Make sure that's selected. If you... I don't have a flight controller handy. What's up, Monty? You got some?
Is it possible that because he's using 1010 but he's on 4.3, it's showing HD but it's grayed out because he can't select it?
I think it wouldn't show it.
Okay.
I could
just
be
so
wrong.
You know, HD's first supported version is 4.4. So just in case you're on 4.3.
Yeah, if you're on a super old version of Betaflight, then I would probably just punt and say that's the cause. I think it just won't be there, though. It won't be there, but grayed out. That seems weird to me. It'll just... I've seen situations where it's just not there. The other thing you can do is you can go to the Setup tab, and right down here... Whoops, sorry. Nope, still can't see it. Okay. Right down here in the lower right, hit Options, and it'll show Options defined in the firmware build. And there's nothing there here, because this is a bad example. But you'll look there and see if OSD digital is in your current build. And if it's not, then that's your problem. Bradley M leaves a 1, 2, 3, 4. 1234 super chat and asks why not, and I say because you can't make me. Try it. Anyway, Froschkönig says, thank you for 20 Swiss francs. I normally fly DJI, but I also have 2 analog whoops that I fly with the Beta FPV VR3. Now I want to upgrade, and I can't decide between the Cobra X, the O4X Pro, and the HD0 Box Pro. Okay, so of those 3, and by the way, those 3 are at wildly different price points. So I'm going to assume price is no object. Of those 3, the Cobra X, don't even think about it. Because the Cobra X is a box goggle. The HD0 box is a box goggle. The HD0 box is a better box goggle than the Cobra X. Okay? So get the HD0 box over the Cobra X, hands down. But the question is, the HD0 box or the Sky O4X Pro? And since HD0 isn't a priority for you, you didn't say, and I want to get into HD0, or I already have one HD0 whoop, or anything like that, I would say the Sky O4X Pro. I would say that the OLED screens, the micro displays, the binocular display is going to give you a better experience overall. Probably. The HD0 Box Pro is a really good set of goggles, but it is a set of box goggles, and it's not going to give you sort of as premium an experience, I think. The downside is the O4X Pro is way more expensive, but you didn't seem to care about that, so we're going to assume that you just have a lot of money. Is a 6S battery overkill for 2755 kV motors on a 5-inch quad? Yeah, 100%. I built a quad that allegedly went 165 miles an hour with 2800 kV motors and a 6S battery through sheer determination. No aero at all. So yeah, it's way overkill. You'll blow an ESC a lot. If you'd be super likely to blow an ESC or burn out a motor if you don't know what you're doing. Is the difference between 60 FPS and 90 FPS detectable for a beginner? I'm building my first FPV drone. I'm thinking of going with the Box Pro Plus and the Nano 90 camera, specifically because it gives 90 FPS. Here's my opinion about that, Michigan. If you are flying HD0, you just have to fly the Nano 90 camera, right? Because here's the thing. Does HD0 have a 1080p camera? Yes. So what? HD0, you give it a 1080p camera, it's still, right? It doesn't look that, it's just not. What HD0 is good at is low latency. Does the 1080p camera look a little better? Sure. Does it look like 1080p? No. Right? So you play to your strengths. If you buy HD0, you have to get the 90 FPS camera and try out the 90 FPS mode, because that's like the killer feature, right? That's the killer feature. If you don't do that, why are you using HD0? It's not because of the exceptional penetration through obstacles. It's not because of the exceptional resolution. It's the latency. So you may as well get what you paid for. That's my opinion. Nick Hayes, the 100-mile-an-hour limit is for 107 operations only. Recreational users can exceed 100 miles an hour. You tell me how that makes any sense in the world, but there you go. The Gaming Archive says, I blew my 9-volt regulator on my SpeedyBee F405 mini stack. Can I use battery voltage for my O3 air unit? O3 takes up to 6S, right? I mean, if you really care, make sure you've got a good capacitor on VBAT, and it should be okay. Gosok wants to know how much fun flying Blunty and I get without content making in consideration. Usually my fun flying happens after I'm done shooting a video and I just get a few more packs in. Yeah. Matt Rittenhouse wants to know, do you think the Fat Shark Reckon Air 65 and Radiomaster Pocket are good for a beginner? I don't want to get super cheap stuff that won't last, but I don't want to break the bank either. Matt, the Radiomaster Pocket is absolutely solid first controller. No real complaints there. Costs like $60-65, or at least it does so far, until the tariffs go into effect, and then it's going to cost $150 or something. I don't know. But the Pocket, no real caveats about the Pocket. You could get a better radio, but you're going to pay almost twice as much. So, yeah, that's the sweet spot right there. The Air 65 is a great drone. It is lightweight and flies really well. It is a little less durable than a beginner might want because it's so lightweight, but I wouldn't steer you away from it, you know? And then the Fat Shark Reckon, that one, it's not a bad choice, but I think that that's the one that I sort of most kind of wish you could maybe spend a little bit more money and get something a little better. But it'll do. Fat Shark Reckon will do. The thing is, at your price point, you're going to be getting box goggles. So that it's just a question of which box goggles you get. The Reckon are not a bad choice. Alrighty. We've running out of questions, Blunty. Am I crazy, or are we down to like 8 questions?
Yeah, we are.
Oh, man. Eric McGregor asks, do you have to use race mode to get low latency with the G3 and the 04, or just select 1080p 100? So, Eric, 1080p 100 will be lower latency, like maybe around 25 milliseconds. I made that number up. Go look at a Madstech latency testing if you want to know for sure. 1080p 100 will be maybe 25 milliseconds. Race mode will be even lower, like 15 milliseconds. Okay? So if you want the lowest possible latency, you have to select race mode. Is it possible to connect 2 receivers on one quad and use them simultaneously? No. Not with Betaflight, not with iNav. It's possible that RGPilot has the ability to do redundant receivers. I don't know about that. I mean, RGPilot can do most anything. But Betaflight and iNav only support one receiver. The Hills Have FPV says, with ELRS you can. Tell me more. How does that work, the Hills Have FPV? I'm going to learn something today. Is the difference between 60 megabit per second and 50 big enough to upgrade to the G3? Sam Rivs, that's a tough one because ultimately it's your money. The difference between 60 and 50 is... Here's the thing. The difference between 60 and 50 are maybe not that much, but the 04, the way it handles the RF link is so much better than the 03. You get significantly more range and penetration off the 04. And then, sure, while you're there, get race mode and 60 megabits per second. I think the 04 is a very worthy upgrade to the 03. I think you will notice an improvement and probably feel like your money was well spent. I don't know. If you're going from the G2 to the G3, and so you're going to spend, whatever, $400, $500, whatever that costs. I don't know. If you sell the G2, then you get some money back. Maybe you only spend $250. Another $100 to get the 04. Like, you're going to be in $400, $500 by the time all's said and done. So is it worth it? It's your money. But it's there. The difference is definitely there. Here's a question from Swift69. Are all walk snail cameras interchangeable on any VTX? Yes. There's some outliers, like the Cadix Infra. That's an oddball. That camera, I'm not sure, works with the regular VTXs. Okay? But the regular cameras, they're all interchangeable, yes. What's my opinion on TVS arrays? TVS diodes. I saw a test, and I can't find it for you now. I've looked for it since I saw it, and I can't find it. I'll try one more time. I'll luckily find it now. Because we're on the live stream. It'll just happen to work.
Put a link in chat.
You got one? Well done, Blunty. Should we talk about this? I've got a live stream clip where we talked about this. It's funny. For those who don't know, I have a YouTube channel, Joshua Bardwell live stream clips. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. What did I mean to do? There we go. Joshua Bardwell live stream clips. That is not what I meant to do. Wow, how do I keep fucking this up? There we go. There we go. Got it. Joshua Bardwell live stream clips. Just go look it up on YouTube. And I got all my live stream clips there. Blunty cuts up the live streams and uploads clips. Blunty's been playing with AI thumbnails. How's that going, Blunty? They increasing our views?
They actually are. Though I don't know if it's because people are angry and then click on it because they're angry and want to tell us.
Well, that's okay, I guess. Yeah.
How do you like the uncanny version of you on that Drones R Us?
I think it looks like my brother posed for a. It's recognizably it's like a Bardwell impersonator. Like it's clear what you're going for, but it doesn't look like me. That's my take. I don't object to it. I'd keep it up, right? I don't care. But I don't think it looks like me. I think it's close, but not quite. This one's pretty good. This one here, that one's pretty convincing. Anyway. Yeah. Thank you for finding that for me, Blunty. So this is from Jai Smith. He is an ELRS dev, among other things. And he tested with TVS diodes. And what he found was, here is an ESC with no caps or diodes. Here's an ESC with a capacitor alone. Another capacitor. Another capacitor. A diode by itself. So now, diode by itself, nothing at all. And you can see some small effect, right? You can see an effect. The diode is doing something. It's not so much reducing the noise here, but it's sort of chopping off the top of the spikes, which is what people say diodes do. Here are 3 diodes. Well, again, not much reduction in noise, little bit of chop off the spikes. And then, here's a cap and a diode. Cap and a diode. Cap by itself. Wait, that cap was a 470. Okay, where's a 470? 470? Okay, 470, 470. 470 capacitor and a diode? No diode. Tell me which one's better, A or B? A or B? Do you see that there's an argument that the diode isn't doing anything? If you didn't have a capacitor, a diode would do something, but not enough. If you have a capacitor, the diode doesn't do anything. The capacitor does everything. So.
I believe people are asking. I believe it's simulated prop strikes on a bend.
Yep. The first test is a throttle blip. Basically, full throttle, no throttle. The second test is simulated prop wash. And you can see again the diode has very little effect. And then prop strikes. Here's the simulated prop strikes. Okay. Major strike. Major strike zoomed. The takeaway that from Jai Smith is that when coupled with a capacitor, the TVS diode isn't giving anything. And that prop strikes don't cause voltage spikes. Because we don't see any voltage spikes here. In fact, we see voltage dips. So his argument is don't waste your time with TVS diodes. And I know people say yada yada yada, and I say show me the data. MagnoFlow says I thought diodes were there for these insane voltage spikes from blocking the props, except he blocked the props. He jammed stuff in the props, and there were no voltage spikes. So this idea that there are voltage spikes when we block the props is not borne out by this testing. What happens is that current surges, but not voltage. That's his argument.
And then also, so people are asking how it actually works. In some way or another, the TVS diode, I believe, clamps at a certain voltage and creates heat out of the remaining voltage. That's how it like dispels it. So I think it's like limited based on ability to throughput heat or something.
Yeah, the difference is that the capacitor sort of smooths out the entire waveform, whereas the TVS diode chops off the top of the voltage spike. That's the way I've heard it described. And so the theory is that prop strikes cause voltage spikes, and voltage spikes blow ESCs. And the TVS diode protects the ESC from the voltage spike. But there are this testing, and then people just are like, I don't know, I guess that's how it works. And they just repeat the theory because it sounds good and it's nice to sound smart. But Jai Smith actually did some testing and found three things, I think. TVS diodes do not improve regular noise, which is not what they're supposed to do, but like, let's confirm that. TVS diodes do not improve regular noise by any significant margin. TVS diodes do protect against voltage spikes in the absence of a capacitor, but in the presence of a capacitor, the capacitor by itself reduces the voltage spikes so much that there's nothing left for the diode to do. And prop strikes don't cause voltage spikes. They cause voltage to sag and current to increase, which is what blows ESCs. But they do not cause voltage spikes, and so there's basically the argument is that there's not really any point to running a TVS diode. So then what blew the diode on the ESCs that Crom has? We don't know. We don't know. The current has nowhere to go when you block the props. That sentence doesn't match the physical reality of what happens. What does happen? Well, all we have is the oscilloscope traces. We can look at them and we can say that during a prop strike, the voltage dropped. Because the voltage dropped and the motor is trying to spin, current went up. There were massive current surges and voltage drops, but there were no voltage spikes. Is the 04 light good in a 5-inch? Asks Murphy's Law. Thank you for $5, Murphy's Law. I would say if you have a 5-inch, I would say the 04 light is significantly limited compared to the 04 Pro. It has much narrower field of view. It is much more fragile. and it has limited resolutions and packet and frame rates that it supports. The only reason to get the 04 Lite is that you need that lightweight, and you don't have the weight capacity or size to mount the 04 Pro. But a 5-inch absolutely can mount the 04 Pro. Therefore, I would say I would never run an 04 Lite on a 5-inch. I would always choose the 04 Pro because it's just better. Thank you, Michael Carson, for a $5 super chat. Just a quick thank you to JB and It's Blunty for all you do. Thank you, Michael Carson. Larry Cummings, thank you for your donation. This is Larry. Thank you, Larry. All right. Oh my goodness. Is the iFlight Blitz E80 Pro ESC cross-compatible with the T-Motor Pacer H7 flight controller? I mean, yes, if you repin them, anything's compatible. You might have to repin it. Let's look. Where's my pinout diagram? Where's my pinout diagram? Where's my pinout diagram? Oh, you're not going to give me a silkscreen on the flight controller? Anybody who makes a flight controller and they don't have a silkscreen label for their plugs, F you. I'll say it. Put a label on that plug. Oh, here it is. I can look it up on the internet. F you. No, don't make me look it up on the internet. You don't know what I'm going through. I'm sitting under a tree in the woods in the desert. I'm in a mud pit. I'm hanging out the back of a car. I'm trying to solder up your flight controller. I want to pull out my phone, try to look up the... Hold on, I gotta look up the pinout, guys. Oh, I dropped my phone. Can we go back? No, we can't. The rebels might catch us. There goes my phone. I guess I don't know what this ESC pinout is. No, they're not compatible. Ground VBAT 1234 current TX. This one goes VBAT ground current TX 1234. They're not compatible. Now, all you have to do is just repin the plug so they're in the right order, and then they can work together. That's easy. Well, it's easy-ish. It's not easy. It's way harder than you think it ought to be. People, it's easy for me, but people find it very difficult to repin correctly. But if you can repin a connector, you can use them together. They're not compatible out of the box. Should I switch from Tracer to Gemini Crossband? I mean, there's nothing wrong with Tracer. Are you thinking about switching? I mean, Gemini is going to give you... I mean, Express LRS is going to give you lower latency and longer range than Tracer. Crossband, I don't know if many people really need crossband. What you're going to do is you're going to put a 2.4, you're going to put a dual band receiver on there, and then it's just always going to be using 900 megahertz because you're just close up. So, yeah. Thank you, Budman. Thank you, Budman, for $200 donation. With tariffs, that's going to be $345, please. What drones do you recommend for backyard flying? I think 2S, like the Flywoo Flyb 20 or the 2S Flywoo Nano Baby. I think, well, first of all, you stole my answer. I think the Flyb 20 is fantastic. I think it's fantastic. You can get it with the 04, although it's the 04 Lite, which is, I kind of wish it was the 04 Pro. But, yeah. Now, you can also get a Flyb 1.6, the 1.6-inch version. I think the 2-inch version is better. Unless you just absolutely need a 1.6-inch. Handles the weight better, flies better. This is an absolute blast to fly. It really is. It even crashes fairly decently. The 04 Lite I find difficult to fly in proximity because of the narrow field of view. I know they don't sell the 1.6 with the Pro. Do they sell the 2.0 with the Pro? No. Sadly. Only the Lite. Well, there you go. So that would be a fair choice. And it is also available. I don't know what video system you have. It is available with Walksnail, HD0, and I believe analog. Hello? Analog? Somewhere? No, that's the HD. There's a Flyb analog as well. I'm sure of it. I tested them. So, maybe it's not a Flyb. Is the Flyb HD and then they call the analog one something else? It looks like it. Okay, fair enough. So that'd be a great choice. I think the Flylens 85 with the 04 Pro, great choice. Not going to fly quite as well as the Flyb, but going to be a little more resilient in a crash because of the prop guards. And comes with the 04 Pro, which is going to give you a way nicer experience. Annoyingly, they don't let you up-tilt the camera. Drives me crazy. What were they thinking? Look at the camera mount. Oh, full screen. Hot damn. That's a great render. Look at the camera mount. There's no way to up-tilt this camera. Are you joking? Why did you do that? Flywoo. What were you thinking? You're so close. So that frustrates me, but I still think that'd be a fun quadcopter to have. Yeah. So there's also, oh, whoops. Another one to think about is the Pavo Pico. This one is a little more focused on cinematic flying than acro flying, but is got a pretty solid following. It isn't currently available with the 04, but that's coming soon. And you can still get it with Walksnail if you prefer. So, yeah. Lost the YouTube social stream. What do you mean? Oh, did it stop updating, Plenty? There we go. Hang on. I think I scrolled up is the problem, and now it scrolled back down again. Pavo Femto is 75 millimeter, and I think it is a little too heavy for its props. It is okay if you absolutely need a 75 millimeter cinema drone, but it doesn't acro for shit. And I just feel like the weight of the 04 doesn't do the Pavo Femto any favors. I'd take the top screw out and fix the up tilt with little pieces of double-sided sticky tape. Almac FPV, that is a great idea. 100% love it. All right. Well, thank you again for your donation. That was a wonderful donation, Budman, and really appreciate it. when you can get a Beta FPV Air 75 for $90. Makes it so hard to pay $400 for that. Yeah, so if you're talking about analog, for a $200 super chat, I'll dive back into this question real quick. If you're talking about analog, which I kind of assumed you weren't, because like when you gave a $200 super chat, I assumed you were like a baller. And so I was just like, this guy's not buying analog. Who are we kidding? But if you're buying analog, you could just get like a nice little 75 millimeter analog whoop for $100 and just fly. You could just have so much fun. And you could buy 2 of them or 3 of them. And when you break one, boom, spare. You got it. So, yeah. Well, he asked for a backyard ripper. I feel like 75 is more true to that than a 65. Would 1407 motors on a 3-inch be overkill? No. If anything, they'd be... Well, 1404 is about the smallest you want to go on a 3-inch. 1407, you're making the motors taller. You're like at a 2-to-1 height to width ratio. And that's close to the line where you're like, it's too tall and it's going to have heat buildup problems. So I would go to something like a 1506 more than a 1407, A 1407, I think, is on the borderline of too tall. Oh, let's see. Nick Hayes says, I bought 2 pairs of V1 DJI goggles in 2019 or 2020. I have a pair that's been used like once or twice. What could I get out of this basically new V1 goggle? Nick, you have a problem. You waited too long. You waited too long, my friend. The V1 goggle cannot bind to the O3 air unit. Now, that doesn't matter because the O3 air unit has been discontinued. It also can't bind to the O4 air unit. The only thing the V1 goggle can bind to is the RunCam Link video transmitters. Those are still available, but I think you're so far behind the times, you're going to struggle to sell those a little bit. Like, anybody who buys those is... So anybody with the V2 goggles probably moved on from the RunCam Links to the O3. Maybe. So I think relatively few people are still heavily invested in the video transmitters that work with those goggles. I'm not sure. Like, it's not that they're useless. The RunCam Link video transmitter is a good video transmitter with a lot of good cameras you can use with it. But it's just so old that I think a lot of people are going to hesitate to invest in it. Dennis Smith. The JB sub 250 build goes over 250 grams if you build it with the O4 Pro. If so, we would have built it with the O4 Pro. Oh my goodness. I was out too late last night. I went to a Big Bad Voodoo Daddy show. You know, it's interesting. Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, they play like swing music. And I thought, I definitely recognized the name of the band. And I thought I was like, oh, I'm going to look up some of their songs. And I was sure I would recognize some of their songs. I didn't recognize a single one of their songs. And apparently, I was remembering some other swing band from like the early 2000s when swing got popular for a minute. Like, who sings Zoot Suit Riot? Is that Big Bad Voodoo Daddy?
No, that's the Cherry Poppin' Daddies.
That's the Cherry Poppin' Daddies. Okay. So every swing song I can think of off the top of my head, or even if I look up a list of, and I'm like, oh yeah, I recognize that one. It's not by Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. I have to say though, it was a hell of a good show. They put on a hell of a good show. It was great. I don't know why swing doesn't swing is so good. Like a swing band is so just energetic and like just horn solos, man. Horn solos, right? I don't know why swing isn't just constantly popular.
What's the difference between swing and ska in this situation?
Ska has like reggae influence. Now, I'm far from the guy to ask, but as long as I'm here and you asked me, ska has reggae influences, right?
Okay, I don't know enough about it.
So swing's going to go like, and ska's going to go like,
Fair enough.
ska's going to hit the upstroke. They both have horns.
The reason I know Zoot Suit Riot is because we played it for our halftime show when I was in high school band.
What year?
2006.
Early 2000s. Swing.
Yeah.
Yep. Ska and swing. Is ska played with a swung beat? I think ska is played with a straight beat with accented upbeats. And swing is played with a swung beat. I don't know. Mick Mucus says reggae came from ska. I did not know that. I seriously didn't know that. Reggae is like ska, but you've smoked too much and you slow down.
Quick Google says ska came to Jamaica in the 50s that later morphed into reggae. Interesting.
Didn't know that. Did not know that. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, I'm not the guy to ask. But like, if you played me two songs and you said which one is ska and which one is swing, I could 100% tell you. Anyway. Anyway, I had a good time. Let's see here. Reggae accents the 3 instead of the 1. What did you play, Blunty?
Trombone.
Ooh, a man of taste. Very nice.
Yeah, it's a real instrument where you have to move to the exact spot. You don't get to hit a button and then have a tuning slide.
Yeah, no, trombone. Massive respect for trombonists. I was in marching band. I played, and who wants to guess what instrument I played in marching band? Let's see what the chat says. We'll wait for the chat. I'm not going to give it away. I was in marching band in high school, though. I marched.
I have two. Yeah, once they guess, I'm going to guess.
People are guessing flute. I should make a poll. I'm going to make a poll. Ask a question. What instrument did
so far,
Jake
nobody has. Oh, there's one.
in marching band? Okay. So, like, how many options can I have? I can only have 4 options? Okay, that's pointless. That's pointless. I'm not going to do that. The triangle. Shut up. Sousaphone. No. The skin flute. Blunty, what's your guess?
Okay, my first guess would be trumpet.
Okay, so first of all, how dare you accuse me of being egotistical enough to be a trumpet player? Actually, you didn't know me in high school. Actually, it's fair of you to guess trumpet today, but trumpet players are all like popular alpha males. I was not that.
How many trumpet players does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
It's only one, but they just hold the light bulb and the world revolves around them.
Yeah. No, the brass section was like, they were like the front and center. They were the lead guitar soloist of a rock band, you know. Oh, everyone can hear us all the time. We are the brass. We are going to play the melody, and you guys can all play the supporting notes. Yes, we're the brass players. I wasn't like that. I wasn't cool enough to be a brass player, a trumpet player. So what's your second guess?
It would be percussion.
Interesting. No, and again,
Like
for a
bass
similar
drum
reason.
or something.
So, so I couldn't play the toms, Blunty, is what you're saying. I would just be like, doom, doom, because I'm a loser. Not like, you're right. You would be right. If I were percussion, I would have been on the bass drum. You're 100% right. It was not percussion. Once again, percussion in the marching band, the way I remember it, is that percussionists were also kind of stuck up and full of themselves because the whole band wouldn't be able to play without us. And mostly like the snares and the tom players, you know, but they had a little bit more of a quirky vibe than the trumpets, who were all like chads. Neither of those is correct, though. I played the alto saxophone. I was the saxophonist.
Fair enough.
Fair. I don't know.
Sax would have been number 3. I was moving towards the people who I would not have hung out with, like in a line.
who? Yeah, because the trombonists got to hang out with the trumpets because they're a brass instrument.
Yeah, and we also always hung out with the drum line because we used to do play stuff with our cadences, or we used to do like move bitch and stuff like in the stands while we were at state, you know, stuff like that. And then the next would be the saxophones, because the saxophones would kind of hang out with us sometimes, and then moves into the woodwinds. So. Yeah,
exactly. The saxophones kind of bridge the gap between woodwinds and brass because we're a metal instrument, but we have a reed. But somehow I always ended up getting lumped in with the clarinets. Don't get me started with clarinets. Oh, clarinets. Oh. Me. Oh, everyone can definitely hear me.
I hung out with a clarinet player, but that's because in the summertime he played bass guitar in the marching band. But then
wait, you know a male clarinet player?
Yes.
Interesting.
One.
Anyway, I played saxophone. I asked my parents. So I was like, I heard like saxophone. My parents were like, "Hey, it's you can be in band this year. What instrument do you want to play? Pick an instrument." And I was like, I had been listening to like rock music with saxophones in it. I don't know what I was listening to. From like the 60s, 70s, 80s, especially like the 80s. Like 80s got really soulful with the saxophones. I wasn't really big into like 50s rock, and I was like, saxophones, man. Saxophones, hot. I still feel like a saxophone's like a sax solo. I saw Big Bad Voodoo Daddy, and they were like, all the horns were going to take a turn having a solo, and the trumpet came up, and I was like, blah, 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 and I was like, fuck you. Get out of here, Mr. Trumpet Player. And the saxophone came up, and I was like, hell yeah. So I told my parents I wanted to play saxophone. First of all, they got me an alto sax, when everybody knows tenor is like that's the saxophone you want to be playing. They got me an alto sax, which, okay. And then I went to marching band, and I didn't get to play any cool solos. Should have been in jazz band. We didn't have a jazz band. So.
Was it nice to hold the sax, though? Because you get the strap, and then you don't have to hold up.
It's true.
Like, yeah. I hated holding up my trombone the whole time. You're just pointing it up.
Yeah.
Yeah. My arm got so tired.
But of all the brass players, trombonists are the coolest. Trombonists, I thought, were like, my stereotype of a trombonist is that he's like a quirky, funny guy. Like, nobody said, I want to play trombone because I want to get all the chicks. But trombonists do get all the chicks. That's the secret. You don't have to cop to that. I know the truth. Trombonists are cool dudes. Anyway.
It makes you have an ear, but it also made me lazy because I don't know. I feel like you start to get used to what you're playing, and then you don't care about the fundamentals because you're already doing more than most people are to play their instrument. Like, everybody else is learning button combinations, and then so I don't know. I'm like already hearing the note every time I play it and having to think about intonation, and I don't know. There's a lot more you're doing. It feels like on a trombone.
And then you're like, you guys, I'm already working twice as hard as you. I have nothing to prove.
Yeah. Like third position's cool to hit your hand on the thing, but it doesn't work. And then you go up, and then you have a different position for every key and everything.
Yeah. Oh God, I didn't even think about that.
Because it's not quite the same, especially if your embouchure's not perfect, right? So like if you're in third position here, but if you go up a scale, then you're up a little bit on the 3, or you're down a little bit on the 3, or if it's cold outside and your horn's warming up as you're playing.
Oh God.
It's like that.
Yeah. So you're just constantly adjusting the intonation in real time. Well, it's no different. It's no different than a fretless instrument like a violin, though. In some ways.
Yes.
It's the same thing. You just hit the note, and then you very quickly hear that you're out of intonation, and you get it. You fix it. So how hard could it be? Well, cool. We're coming to the end of the stream. There's a few questions outstanding. If you want to email me those questions, jb@joshuabardwell.com. We got a $3 super chat right here at the end of the stream. I want an analog goggle with DVR. SkyZone Sky 040 Pro, about $350. The 04X is better, but it's like twice as expensive, and it's not that much better. So I would say for analog goggles today, SkyZone 040 Pro is probably a safe upgrade, and then the 04X if you really have money to spend. Does HD0 not have better DVR? 1000% it does. I mean, HD0 goggles, they're kind of cumbersome as an analog goggle because they don't have a built-in module. They're way, way more expensive. But yes, they have they're solid analog goggles with a class, best DVR in the class. So, guys, you can email me any more questions. jb@joshuabardwell.com. And I also want to let you know I'm going to be traveling next week. So the live streams are going to go back on hiatus. However, I'm gonna try, now that I have this new camera set up, I'm going to try bringing one of these cameras with me and see about streaming from the hotel. It heavily depends on the quality of the hotel's internet and many other factors that are out of my control. But I'm going to try to get that set up and maybe do some streams from the road. But for the meantime, consider the live streams on hold until I get back from the trip. And then we'll get back from the trip and we'll just do some more, just like we do. But I wanted to let you know about that. Thank you, guys, and thank you, Blunty. That's it. It's 10 o'clock. We're out of here.
We'll see you guys.
See you guys. Bye, everybody.